Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday. And if I look a little groggy, it's because I drove back from Kaustubha's house. We had a play date yesterday. We did a photo session. We took photos walking around the streets of New York City looking cool and spiritual. Then we went inside and made cookies, had a pillow fight. It was great. That's what we do on our play dates. And then I drove back. I brought my daughter. It was the first time I had to relinquish. Okay, you want to walk to Central Park? Have fun. Losing my mind the whole time. What are you doing? Are you okay? Don't talk to anyone. It's hard, man. It's hard, that letting go thing of daughters. Oh,
so what's going on, huh?
It's going to kill me. I understand all this stuff. You can't possess anything in this world. I understand it. But
you don't like it?
I don't like it. And I want to be the possessor, the owner, and the controller. And this daughter is setting me up for great pain. I can feel it coming on. You know what I mean? I can just feel it. I can feel it. Oh, I get this game. You fall in love, something's adorable, looks just like you. You know, go do everything. You put her in the car seat, you feed her this, you take care of her, you're sweetening her on the swing, you help her learn how to ride the bike, you figure out what school she should go to, etc. And then all of a sudden they just get stripped out of your hands by cruel time. By cruel time, right? And it's understandable, it's normal, this is what kids do. It's just that it's a trick. It's a trick of Maya to fall in love, get attached, and then relinquish all control. I get that.
Hey, Raghu, I noticed you're not wearing your headphones, and I noticed there's an echo coming through, too.
Is there an echo?
Yeah. I'm picking up my voice coming through your speaker or your mic. There you go.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Alrighty. Go to system preferences. Oh, this is bad. All right, keep talking then, because I'm gonna figure this out while you talk and say.
Anyway,
something.
I don't think you even have to go to system preferences. You sound fine.
Sounds better already?
Well, it's just the point that my voice was coming through your microphone, and that's taken care of now.
Okay.
So kick it off. Let's go.
All right.
Anything we need to say this morning?
Mara. This is where Mara comes in with some incredible letter, information, schedule change.
Well, we do have an Ayurveda workshop this evening with Lauren Baptiste at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
And we have a 10 a.m. asana class today with Damodar Svarup.
What a day. Lauren Baptiste is incredible. If you want to know anything about Ayurveda, it's a great entry level. I mean, she's good at explaining the complicated to newbies. Great class. Check that out. And also Damodar Svarup, who can say, can't praise the guy anymore. This is great. I'm so happy this is happening. Mara, did you get on the Makeover Monday board yesterday?
No, I didn't.
You didn't,
Sorry.
did you? You didn't.
Sorry,
Okay.
no, I didn't.
Because they were asking about you.
There's a lot of talk. Where's Mara?
Alrighty, let's dive into the sweetness of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. We were in some good place yesterday where we were talking about all the attributes of Lord Vishnu. Remember that? Those text 32 and 33.
Yeah, we read that. Yeah.
And now we're in text 34, Canto 1, Chapter 16, text 34.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It seems like about a year ago since we did
Well, yeah,
this.
we're gonna wrap up this chapter today.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's start with our magical invocation. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, almost all that is
troublesome to the heart.
all that is troublesome to my heart.
What's troubling your heart today?
What's troubling my heart? Don't worry, the Bhagavatam will take care of it. It's promised in the invocation. All that is troublesome to the heart will become completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatamurandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I stayed awake last night driving by doing a girl band 90s dance party in the car with my daughter.
Girl
I
band
introduced
90s.
her to some of my favorite 90s girl bands,
What's that?
girl singers, and we just sang loud on the way home. Oh, that was good. I'm gonna have to share that playlist. Okay, text 34. You ready?
Yeah.
O personality of Dharma. I might have read this. I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes. I would have remembered that. I didn't read that.
Like that, Alex.
Military phalanxes arranged by atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in a distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength, and thus he, the Lord, also incarnated by his internal energy in the family of the Yadus to relieve you. Who therefore can tolerate? Shall I continue, sir?
I was just going to say, so you've got, again, just to remind everyone, you got the earth suffering and you've got Dharma suffering. Okay.
Who therefore can tolerate the pangs of separation from that supreme personality of Godhead? He could conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweethearts. His sweethearts, that's cute. Like Satyabhama,
Like that.
by his sweet smile of love, pleasing glance, and hearty appeal. Satyabhama was one of Krishna's queens. When he traversed my surface, the earth's surface, I would be immersed in the dust of his lotus feet, and thus would be sumptuously covered with grass, which appeared like hair standing on me out of pleasure.
Yeah. So
While the earth and the personality of...
Hey,
What?
let's just talk about this first a little bit.
Okay.
It mentions Satyabhama. Now Krishna, it describes how in the Bhagavatam, how he was able to expand himself for 16,108 different queens in Dwarka, right? And this Satyabhama, what is Satyabhama known for? Can you say?
She's hot-tempered.
Yeah, she's feisty, right? Sassy, feisty.
A little feisty.
And so like some of the queens have a more I want to say queens, I just mean these are
They're princesses.
but what I mean is what I mean to say is like there being a queen or a princess or whatever in this is just like it's just like the context in which they share their love with God, right? Like if he's in this, in Vrindavan, Krishna's playing the role as just like a simple boy, right? And in Dwarka, he's playing the role of like this prince or this king. And so the gopis love him with a certain mood in Vrindavan, right? Where he's like a simple boy.
Just a village boy.
This is what he was doing yesterday. This is why you're so tired.
I was taking great rock songs and turning them into Krishna conscious songs in the streets of New York, and that was one of them. Just a village boy. Okay,
Little what's that band? Journey.
Journey.
So these in Vrindavan, Krishna's manifesting, playing the role of like a simple, just a village boy, and the girls are just simple village girls, and that context provides a forum for sharing a certain type of very intimate love. And Dwarka is also like that, but also just like everything's a little bit more formal there, because Krishna's more like a king or a prince. And it has 16,108 wives, all with different varieties of love that they share with him and that he reciprocates with.
At this point, someone who's new to the show will go, "What? Explain that."
Well, that's what I'm trying to do.
How can any person have 16,108 wives, period?
Well, if it also describes that he was able to, there's one passage there where it describes that Narada, this incredible yogi, is able to see, he's traveling throughout Dwarka in all the different palaces, and he sees that Krishna is engaged. He's there in every one of the palaces simultaneously, engaged with every queen in a different way, according to the nature of their particular love. So he can expand like that. He can multiply.
He can be there in full for each one.
Yeah, and each one is feeling like he's totally here for me. Right?
Mara, give me 3 queens' names.
Wow,
3.
how does
Just
he-
3 today.
Satyabhama.
That's one.
And like you drove home at midnight.
Rukmini.
2. But the third one is probably gonna be the hardest. You have 16,106 to choose from.
6, yeah. Jambavati.
Whoa, man,
That was on the chat board.
Oh, well, I get it. Chat board anyway. Okay.
Should have faked it. So among these 16,108, Satyabhama, she's known as being like feisty. Like it's challenging, right? It's like this is a lover that challenges him because she can become upset. She can become, and she's not afraid to express it. But even that, like that challenge in their love is something that excites him, and pleases him, right? So what the earth is saying here is she's saying that, I'll read it again. Who can tolerate the pangs of separation? The earth is tolerating this feeling separation from Krishna, who's left the earth. And she's saying, who can tolerate those pangs of separation from Krishna? He could conquer. Like this is how much he would adjust and how much he would, the effort that he would put in. He could conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweethearts like Satyabhama. How would he conquer her? When she's upset, right? You got like a very strong, independent, intelligent, feisty, sassy woman that's upset with him, right? But he's got such love for her. And so it's saying that with his sweet smile of love, with his pleasing glances and his hearty appeals, he would overcome her wrath, her anger. So what a lover, what a fully committed and charming and beautiful and lover he is. And she's saying when he traversed my surface, the earth's surface, I would be immersed in the dust of his lotus feet, and thus would be sumptuously covered with grass, which appeared like hair standing on me out of pleasure. And that's like saying, it's said that when one feels great ecstasy, you get these goosebumps, So like these queens, Krishna would sometimes be with them and sometimes not, but for the earth, Krishna's always on her surface and she's always feeling this ecstasy, and now he's gone. Maybe that's just what I wanted to share.
It's beautiful. I'm experiencing something interesting now because it looks like our pilgrimage is sadly not going to happen this year. And I'm getting all these emails from these people who've gone on pilgrimage with me before, and they're feeling like, are we not going to go this year? It's almost like upset. They're angry, not angry, but they feel broken. It's like this separation from pilgrimage where you're immersed in Harikatha, spiritual conversation, spiritual people, holy places. It does something to you that when you don't have it, it's like your greatest sadness and lamentation. And people who have been practicing bhakti also know that some of the greatest distress ever is not to get the association of devotees. Like it's painful, I'm sure for you, not to be able to go to the bhakti center, living in New York City.
Yeah.
And sort of the greatest relief for me last week was, oh my God, I can have a satsang and we can have kirtan again. It was just like, so if you're,
You know, by the way, I think you need to clarify that you're talking not about in January, you're talking about in September, October.
yeah, I'm talking about October. January's still on. We're going in January. Come on, hop on board. That's still happening. Mara, come on. Yeah, Mara's good.
I'll be there.
We're all coming. The whole Zoom. Let's get the whole damn Zoom group to come.
All right.
January.
Whole damn group.
Yeah, let's get the whole damn group. Come on, we can do this every day live. But it's the greatest pain for devotees to be separated from other devotees, and that's a normal thing, and it's almost like a healthy thing. We should feel that. Oh, where are the devotees in my life? Where is Krishna in my life?
Yeah.
And then when we come in, and what happens is, by that desire, Krishna slowly giving us that eagerness to run to the bhaktas. And what we're doing is we're slowly getting lured by Krishna out of the material world, out of our material attachments.
Nice.
What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Very nice. All right, we got one more verse left in this chapter.
Yeah, this is it. Wow. 36. While the earth and the personality of Dharma, or religion, were thus engaged in conversation, the saintly King Parikshit reached the shore of the Saraswati River, which flowed towards the east.
Thus end the Bhakti-Vedanta purports to the first canto, 16th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled, How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali.
Alrighty. Chapter 17, Punishment and Reward of Kali. So this is different than the Kali, the goddess. This is the age of Kali. There's 4 ages. If you're new to this, there's 4 ages, like the 4 seasons, not the band. There's 4 ages like the 4 seasons. We have Satya Yuga, the first age, where everything is divine. And then you have Treta Yuga. That's when Lord Ram appeared. Dwarpa Yuga. That's where Lord Krishna appeared. Krishna appeared at the end of Dwarpa Yuga, and now we're into what's called the winter season. These seasons get progressively shorter as well, but they're still pretty long, right? Kali Yuga's 432,000 years old or long. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
We are approximately 5,000 years in. So we're still doing time in Kali Yuga. They say we're in a little bit of a golden age. They say about 5,000 years up, then 5,000 years down, and then Kali Yuga really sets in.
I don't think the golden age is fully set.
You don't think the golden age is? Yeah, we're in it though, isn't? Is the golden age?
Well,
Right?
I mean, the effects haven't set in. We have to work on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a veggie dog. That's pretty golden. Couldn't get that.
Yeah, and meanwhile,
Yeah.
billions of animals are being killed every day at the same time. So,
But
yeah.
I'm trying to see the cup half full. We're probably better off as far as like the fact that like that veganism's in the conversation. It's like amazing. Everybody's vegan. There's a V on the back of food products now. That wasn't like that when you and me were vegetarians. The only thing we had back then was like a something shaped like a burger. They're like, it's a veggie burger. It was like brown rice, black beans. It's not a burger. It's like a patty.
But the fact that we can get a vegan burger does not indicate that the symptoms of the age of Kali have receded very significantly.
You don't think so?
No, not at all. Come on, Raghunath. Wake up. You're tired this morning.
My life.
There's a lot of work to do.
Well, I think we've got a lot of work to do. But the veggie burger thing has been helping.
Okay.
But Every burger you eat. I mean, think about it. Burger King
is still going on with millions and millions of, what's the comparison between veggie burgers and regular burgers that they're selling?
Mara, can you chime in here, please? Don't you think there's some light going on here? Some Lord Chaitanya light?
I think it's really great how you can see the golden silver lining of all of this.
Well, okay.
But something I want to share, like in this chapter, we're going to hear the questions and answers between Parikshit and Dharma, and we're going to hear about the punishment and the punishment and the and ultimately like the mercy that are shown to Kali by Maharishi Parikshit. But a lot of this chapter is going to deal with some of those things that, like, I think if you want to say like in Hinduism, that are hard to understand, I think, for Western people, or just like hard to get, usually when you hear descriptions of it, it doesn't really get to the essence of it.
Hmm.
And those things would be, one is cows. Like, why are cows so important? What's the big deal about cows? And there's going to be a lot of talk about that in these verses and in the commentaries to these verses. And another one is dealing with what in books like Bhagavatam is called Varnashrama-dharma, but what has become warped, just like things do in the age of Kali, warped into a system of oppression known as the caste system. So there's going to be a lot discussed here about how when people that are unqualified take positions that they're not qualified for, it screws up society. And so in any case, it'll be something for us to talk about, I think, and just try to get to the essence of, sometimes you just have to try to put it in the right context to understand the value of what we're talking about. So anyway, that'll all be coming up.
All right. Previews.
Yeah.
Punishment and Reward of Kali, Chapter 17, Text 1. Sutta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaj Parikshit observed the lower caste Sudra dressed like a king. He was beating a cow and a bull with a club as if they had no owner.
No one's protecting Dharma or the earth.
Meaning he's pretending he's actually dressed like a king, but he's not protecting the earth and he's not protecting Dharma. So are you a king or not? The bull was as white as a lotus flower, and he was terrified of the Sudra who was beating him. And he was so afraid that he was standing on one leg, trembling and urinating. Although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by a Sudra. There were tears in her eyes, and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field. So we should explain, like, this isn't the analogy anymore. This is a real cow. We were talking about the
Well, as
Dharma.
far as I understand, we're still within the mystic vision of Parikshit.
Okay. Alrighty. Maharaj Parikshit was well equipped with arrows and bow and seated on a gold embossed chariot. He spoke to him, the Sudra, with a deep voice sounding like thunder. Oh, who are you? You appear to be strong, and yet you dare kill within my protection those who are helpless. By your dress, you pose yourself to be a godly man, like a king. But by your deeds, you are opposing the principles of the twice-born warriors.
Okay. So let's read this commentary by Prabhupada, and let's try to understand this. This is describing something called Varnashrama-dharma, and it's using a term twice-born, which indicates that you go through a type of initiation, that you go through a type of training and graduation into something. And each one of those roles that one may play by becoming twice born is a role of responsibility. It's not just a role of privilege, but it's actually a role of service. And that's how, that's where something like a valuable construct, a valuable way of looking at, like, hey, there are 4 different personality types, or 4 different common psychologies, gets warped into something like a system of oppression. Here's what Srila Prabhupada says. He says the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas. So that means the Brahmanas means, like, within society, there are people that are meant to be holy people, wise, really the wise people, right? The people that they live very simply, and they're deeply absorbed in wisdom, and they can share that. They're uncorruptible. They live, because they live so simply, they can't be easily corrupted by money or fame or anything like that. They embrace a very simple lifestyle, a very pure lifestyle, and they're meant to bring wisdom into society. And then the Kshatriyas means it really like the, we could say warriors, but we can also say, like, they're the administration. That's the government, right? They're the ones that are meant to draw from the wisdom of the Brahmanas and step forward and protect people. It's really all about protection. Let's make sure that the society is well protected. Let's make sure that the humans are protected, the animals are protected, etc. And Vaishyas. And Vaishyas, in the context that we're reading, it means, commonly it's meaning the farmers, like, and when we say farmers, like the farm owners or business people, but we can understand it as really, these are the employers, right? These are people that provide jobs for people. They're like, your boss or something like that. People that have the entrepreneurs, people that go out and make their own business and employ others. And it's the idea is that each one, these are all twice born. To take either of those, then the fourth is those that are employed, right? The Shudras are those that are employed by others. And to be twice born, it means that it's to be like a spiritual head, a teacher or a priest, you're meant to, there's responsibility that comes with that. And that's what the system is meant to do. It's like, if that's the role that you're going to play, then you're going to have to be trained. And you're really going to have to understand the significance of the role that you're playing. And everybody's going to understand the standard that you're being held up to, and you're going to have to live up to it. Mm. And so the Brahmanas, they're meant to bring wisdom to society. The Kshatriyas, they're meant to protect society. And the Vaishyas are meant to provide employment, provide wealth for people. And each one of those psychologies has its strengths and its weaknesses. And the system of Varnashram was designed in such a way that it dealt with it brought the best out of your psychological strength, and it curbed or purified you of your psychological weakness. Does that make sense, Raghu? Should I describe that more?
Yeah, I think it's super insightful.
So like, for instance, let's take the Vaishya, right? Now, a Vaishya is the business person. Typically, it would be the farm owner, but it might be a merchant of some other kind that's employing others. And the idea was that we all know people that are good at making money, people that have that aptitude and that drive to see how money can be made. And they absorb themselves in making money, and they'll employ others. But the idea is that when we know people, people that we know that have that drive, the psychological weakness that is a potential for them is greed, right? If I'm good at making money and my mind has a natural attraction to making money, there's a good chance that I'm going to have to deal with greed. I might come to a place where I'm so absorbed in making money that I'm not, even I have more than I need, I still want to make more. And I've lost the sensitivity to recognize that I'm harming someone else. I want to I'm so fixed on making more money. I'm not even noticing, or I don't even care very much, or I find ways to rationalize or justify the harm that I'm causing to other people.
So you're saying, even though we're all spiritual beings, we are born with this karmic programming of the body and the mind.
Yeah.
And some of it's very dented, and some of it's very troublesome, and some of it's very sort of
I'm just saying that it has its strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right.
And so our job is to first to understand what we are, and then transcend it, or use this karmic machine to liberate us from this bondage of the programming.
And right, and that involves serving others, right? It's through serving others. So each one of these twice born, it's not like it's just like, oh, they're the privileged people running around in society, but they're the servants, and their life becomes disciplined in such a way. Like, again, let's go back to the Vaishya. Let's say that this person's really good at making money. They've got lots of employees. They're wealthy themselves, but it's all, they've been trained. And what twice born means, they went through training, and then they went through like a ceremony, which is almost like a graduation into that role. And then they became twice born. That was like their second birth. Right? Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, it was deeply imbibed in them that this ability, this God-given ability of making money and employing others that you have, be aware of the that comes with the potential for greed to overtake you. And here are your responsibilities that are meant to counter that. So for countering greed, the Vaishya would know that it's expected of them, that the entire society expects of them, and that they should understand the value of giving in charity, right? Being generous, being, really caring for your workers. Not just, like for instance, in the United States right now, an entrepreneur, basically the way that they commonly arrange things is, I want the absolute highest profit margin that I can create for myself or for our, shareholders. And as far as the workers are concerned, we want to minimize their paycheck as far as we possibly can to maximize the profit, right? That's the kind of thought. That's now you're a good business person. You've learned how to trim down your expenses and maximize your profits. And that's the way a business person will be trained to operate. Whereas in the system of Varnashrama-dharma, the idea was, okay, you're good at making money. How will you really care for people with that ability? And it's your responsibility. How could you be making so much money when the people that are working for you are suffering so much? Society would recognize that. Or, hey, you've got all this money in the bank. What are you doing with it? And so it would be clear that the vice, hey, I've got responsibilities, not just to my own family, but to the broader society. I should be using that money to serve others. And it's for that people would be shown respect. Hey, what a special person. Look at all that they're doing. They really take care of their workers. And they're so generous and kind, right? So like that, the warrior, their good qualities are they're fearless, and they're ready to risk their own life to protect others. But, with that, with that usually comes a predisposition to violence and a lot of ego. And so they were really trained that, hey, if I ever need to use violence, it's only to protect others. And to use violence for any other purpose is like the greatest humiliation. And the entire society would understand that. And to deal with their ego, they'd be very surrendered, very submissive to the wisdom of the Brahmanas. These people that didn't share their same psychological weaknesses, but people that were just like really absorbed in the wisdom of the yoga tradition. And so before they were, if the warrior was hot-headed and quick to jump into a fight, as a political leader, the Brahmana was there to temper that and say, hey, there are many other ways that we could approach this, wiser ways. Why are you jumping to violence right off the bat? Let's slow down and let's examine this. And so each one of them was tempered in a certain way. And the Brahmana, which means you could say the priest or the teacher, that spiritual person that's meant to bring wisdom into the world and training into the world, they would take vows to live a very simple life, where they were not at all concerned with having a fancy home or having fancy clothes, or they were like living simple. Even they live in a simple hut, they'd be satisfied with it. Why? Because by nature, they were absorbed in wisdom and they were finding happiness from within. And so they were uncorruptible. You couldn't buy them off. And therefore they would have the ability in society to speak the truth, under any circumstances, just to be clear and honest and speak the wisdom that needs to be heard to correct things. And so these are the twice born, right? These are the three segments of the four segments of society that were initiated into certain responsibilities that were suited to their psychology, that were purifying for them, and that served the broader society. And the Shudras, they're people that are not employing others, or not taking political responsibility, not putting their life on the line to protect others on a battlefield, and also not like living that simple, renounced life of the Brahmana. And so they were meant to assist the other Varnas, those other occupations, assist them, in any way that they could. So that's
our society's missing an ethical training.
Absolutely.
We naturally tend towards these works anyway, whether it becomes like a cop, or whether it becomes a leader, whether it becomes a infantry person, or whether it becomes a business person. But that ethical training, where do we get that from? Get it
There's
from
not
your
a whole lot
parents,
of
you
it.
get it from your school, you get it from your, the media.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you get it from your spiritual path, but the spiritual paths are very much lost, to a large degree. So let's go ahead and read, with that context, let's go ahead and read this commentary by Srila Prabhupada. So he says, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are called twice born because for these higher classes of men, there is one birth by parental conjugation, and there's another birth by cultural rejuvenation, by spiritual initiation from a bona fide acharya or teacher or spiritual master. So a Kshatriya, the warrior, is also twice born, like a Brahmana, and his duty is to give protection to the helpless, right? If you need protection, I'm there. I'm even willing to risk my life, just like a police officer, or a person in the military. That would be the idea. The Kshatriya king is considered to be the representative of God to give protection to the helpless and to chastise the miscreants. Whenever there were anomalies in this routine work by the administrators, there's an incarnation of the Lord to reestablish principles of God, of a godly kingdom. In the age of Kali, the poor helpless animals, especially the cows, which are meant to receive all sorts of protection from the administrative heads, are killed without restriction. Thus, the administrative heads under whose noses such things happen are representatives of God in name only. So what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, and what's happening figuratively, but also it has an important literary meaning, is that part of the responsibilities of leader in society is not only to protect human beings, but to protect the lives of the animals. And in the age of Kali, that's lost. And if you want to root out the symptoms of Kali, you need to take care of that. But the problem is that the leaders are not true Kshatriyas. They're not people that have been trained in protection. And so therefore, he's saying this is all going on under their nose. So therefore, they're leaders in name only. Such powerful administrators are rulers of the poor citizens by dress or office. But actually, they're worthless, low-class men without the cultural assets of the twice born, right? They don't have that training. They don't have that depth of understanding. No one can expect justice or equality of treatment from once born, spiritually uncultured, lower class men, right? That haven't gone through that kind of training, that don't have that kind of insight. Therefore, in the age of Kali, everyone is unhappy due to the maladministration of the state. The modern human society is not twice born by spiritual culture. Therefore, the people's government by the people who are not twice born must be a government of Kali, in which everyone is unhappy. Prabhupada gives some strong commentaries in these verses. Right? You're muted, Raghunath.
Sorry, experiencing operating difficulties.
No problem.
Please stand by. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, shall we continue?
Yeah, those are good. Text 5. Text 6. You rogue. Love that word. Do you dare beat an innocent cow because Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the carrier of the Gandiva bow, are out of sight? Since you are beating the innocent in a secluded place, you are considered a culprit and therefore deserve to be killed. Then he, Maharaj Pricket, asked the bull, "Oh, who are you? Are you a bull as white as a lotus, or are you a demigod? You have lost 3 of your legs and are moving only on 1. Are you some demigod causing us grief in the form of a bull? Now, for the first time in a kingdom well protected by the arms of the kings of the Kuru dynasty, I see you grieving with tears in your eyes. Up till now, no one on earth has ever shed tears because of royal negligence."
Okay, let's read this commentary. The protection of the lives of both the human beings and the animals is the first and foremost duty of a government. A government must not discriminate in such principles. It is simply horrible for a pure-hearted soul to see organized animal killing by the state in the age of Kali. Maharaj Pariksit was lamenting for the tears in the eyes of the bull, and he was astonished to see such an unprecedented thing in his good kingdom. Men and animals were equally protected as far as life was concerned. That is the way in God's kingdom. All right. You want to read the next one?
Now for the first, sorry. O son of Sarabi, you need not lament. No, you need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low-class Sudra. And, O mother cow, as long as I am living as the ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you.
So yeah, so he's saying because there were incompetent leaders, uncultured leaders, posing as leaders, although they didn't have the qualification, the earth is suffering, Dharma is suffering. And he's stepping in to take care of that. But now, I think in this commentary, Srila Prabhupada is going to talk about cows. And I think it's, such an important conversation to have. So
Are we getting karma for being born in a culture that does these type of things, and we're paying taxes into it? We pay taxes. These factory farms get subsidized by the federal government. Do we get part of that karma for just being born an American?
I mean, in general, I believe the answer would be yes, that we elect these leaders and we don't do anything about it, so there's a shared karma. But, it's a tough subject to speak about. These are subjects that people get worked up. Is that what you said?
Worked up, yeah.
Yeah, people get worked up about. And it's also, this is where the conversation where the Vedic culture, the yoga culture crosses the vegan culture, which is a modern thing, which is something that I really respect. I really respect people that have that integrity to say, hey, I recognize the pain and the suffering and I don't want to have anything to do with it. But then we look at the yoga culture and it's very much built around milk and the cow. Right? But
actually just relationship with animal, where sometimes a sort of a staunch vegan really has nothing to do with the animals. Animals, you do your thing, we're going to do our thing. But okay. I think that's sort of a pendulum swing from we've exploited and now we want nothing to do with them. But in any simple life, there is relationship with animals, in any farm life or village life. And when the machines all become destroyed, we're going to use them. I mean, I'm looking at the stone walls. We're just like on our street. You make the stone wall. No, if you look at them, you're like, no one can move those stones. It's impossible to move those stones. You had horses. When people had farms, they had horses that.
You have two choices, right? Either a machine.
You have a tractor.
And all the consequences that come with that, or an animal.
A long list. There's factories. There's petroleum. There's there's old tractors. What do you do with these old pieces of machinery? We are making so many cars per year right now. Where do they go? You're right. No one fixes a car. They just buy a new car. Where do they go? So yeah, this is a big thing. So either work with the animals, or and I think it'd be very difficult. I think without a relationship with animals.
Well, it's not difficult. It's either machines or animals to get the stuff done, right? Like, I once put together this infographic. I showed you that, right, Raghunath?
Yeah.
One? And it deals with this.
Venn diagram. Infographic.
Infographic.
Just some of your specialties.
One of my specialties. I just put some together. But the idea is this: that our nation currently provides food, right? What we eat, how we survive. It's provided through a meat-based, industrialized model, right? That's built on cruelty and dependence on machinery and fossil fuels, right? That's how we operate. That's not how the Vedic culture operated. It was an animal-based, vegetarian society, but our current one is a machine-based, fossil fuel-based, meat society. And so that type of society, it requires harming the earth. It requires mining the earth for iron, and building factories for producing machinery, and drilling for rapidly depleting supply of oil, and toxic oil refineries, and tons of pollution in the air, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's not
And
forget working in those factories and all that goes with that psychologically.
what that does to the spirit of the human being, rather than working on the earth, that you work in a factory or refinery, what that does to you psychologically, how that shapes your mind, your sense of your sensitivity, your kindness, your happiness. And it also involves horrible cruelty to animals on a massive, almost inconceivable level, the amount of pain and suffering that's produced, disease and so on. Extremely inflated demand for water. It's drying up our rivers, because just mathematically, the amount of water you need to run these factory farms is actually just wiping out our rivers, you know, and chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And the idea is that the animals take care of all of that for you if you just love them and care for them. And all of that results in climate change and a depletion of the Earth's resources, destructions of rivers and depletion of our water supply, air pollution, and beyond that. Just as you're saying, you know, like the horrible karma that comes from, we've discussed, I think it was last week or so, that karma means not just that you get a reaction, like something happens to you, but there's also, when you commit a certain activity, there's something called kuta, or there's the mind becomes shaped to become more like that. And so as we all become implicated in the cruelty, and when we find ourselves not working on the earth in a natural circumstance, but working in these horrible, hellish factories, even offices nowadays, right? It makes a culture of insensitivity that results in a culture of violence as a karmic reaction to animal slaughter. And there's so much violence in the world, you know. So put simply, by adopting a diet dependent on cruelty and petroleum-based industry, we're rapidly creating hell on earth. And so the alternative to that would be, there's a positive alternative. And it's an economy and a diet that's based on simple living and a relationship of cooperation and love between humans and animals, you know, particularly the cow. And so cows and bulls, they live a life of much greater comfort, health, security, and love when they're cared for properly, you know, when they're actually shown love. And that's, if you go to a real Goshala, you know, in an Indian village, that's what you see, right? That the relationship with the animals there is not an exploitative one, it's a cooperative one, where the animal is providing for the human and the human is providing for the animal. And they're both better off. So when you have that experience of love between the animal and the human, then the cow is providing not only milk for drinking and converting it to amazingly, when it's, you know, the milk that we have in this culture is just totally, it's not real, you know, it's got so many antibiotics pumped into it, and the so much, even just chemically and biologically, the fear,
pasteurized,
the disease, the fear, the pasture, all of this stuff, it gives you a product that's not at all what it's really meant to be. But real milk, you know, when you turn it into yogurt and butter and cheese and ghee, these are like miracle foods. But those cows and the bulls, they also plowed the land, and through plowing the land, they provide healthy grains. You know, they provide fruits and vegetables. They provide the crops that you need for your clothes, like cotton, you know, and linen and all of these things. It's the cow and the bull that are providing this. And oil-rich plants like castor, which you can use to light your home. And instead of having to build some kind of electric generator, you have castor in your home. You know, you castor oil lamps and things like that that are growing from the earth. So it's all about the earth and all about the cow and the bull. Even their manure is valuable as a source of fuel, as a source of fertilizer, as a source of pesticide. A pesticide that's not going to kill you, you know.
My permaculture guy says 80% more productive soil with manure.
80%.
80% more. That's radical. See, the compost, this manure, it's like it's like invaluable.
And you know,
What to speak of, like, and what does the tractor give? Well, you got to change the oil. Where are you gonna put the oil when you change it? Well, I don't
we're
know.
gonna
Just
have
gonna
so
put it
much goes behind
somewhere. It's got to go somewhere, right? Antifreeze. All this stuff's just dripping out of the tractor transmission
right.
fluid. You
You
know
know,
what happens? The cows eat the grass and they fertilize it. It's an incredible machine, the cow body. What
it's
it
the
does.
perfect
Eats the
machine.
grass.
God gave us the perfect machine,
Yeah, you
and then
can
we
make it
decide to
perfect.
kill it and eat it, and
Yeah.
then create an artificial one
So you
that
can
just
do more.
creates hell for us.
So you can do more and become in debt to a bank.
And you know, even when they do more, it's like even that cow, the way it's designed in the bull, it's like all that weight goes on these little hooves that don't destroy the earth, but those big huge tractors, they crush the earth and they ruin its like its ability to be fertile, especially like on these massive farms where they have these sick, incredibly huge
Reapers and these.
machines.
That's why they say that sometimes even the harvesting of soy and things like that are not really vegan because so many animals that live, right? There's so many animals that, you know, ferrets and rodents and things that are living and also living symbiotically with those plants are getting killed in these big, massive, tractors or
Mhm.
reapers or baling machines.
And they're even killing the earth, and they're making the earth unfertile, you know, by just crushing it physically. You know, we're just scratching the
We
surface.
gotta get a permaculture guy on the show. I got a couple good permaculture guys. They're really
Okay.
mind blowing.
Yeah. And then you see how this culture made so much sense, right? That if we just have this loving relationship with the animals, care for them, and even if they're not producing any more milk or they're not able to plow, you still care for them because you love them, right? And they're better off that they're being cared for, that they're given shelter and they're given, you know, food and protection and, you know, healing from any disease and all of that. That there are people in society that are dedicated to caring for those animals. And so you get, you know, if we lovingly care for these beautiful creatures, they happily provide all of our necessities, including healthy food, like really healthy food, right? Not
You know,
like the food that the garbage that is in our grocery stores. Healthy food.
Kaustubha,
Yeah.
you know what they're using for instead of Roundup and all these pesticides at the Go Around Eco Village? You know what they're using?
Is it cow urine?
Cow urine, watered
Yeah.
down cow urine.
Yeah.
It keeps all the pests away.
Right. And so you're not getting diseased and cancer and all the stuff from the food that you buy in the grocery store.
It's
Right.
unbelievable.
So if we care for these very special that's why they're so sacred, right? If just like your mother should be sacred to you because she's providing for you, the earth should be sacred to you, the cow should be sacred, the bull should be sacred because they're providing all the necessities of life, healthy food, fuel for warmth and for lighting your homes, cloth for the clothing that you wear, power for the, like as you were saying, power for the construction that you need to build your homes and so on, right? They'll provide everything for us and we just have to appreciate it and care for them and love them. And that's where where I say, like, I have great respect for the vegan that says they can recognize the cruelty and not want to play a part in it. I just feel that the Vedic yoga culture provides the fuller, complete picture where actually we need to interact with these animals. We need to care for them. We need their care for us to live a complete, healthy lifestyle. And if you're not benefiting from these animals, then they're going to be on their own, all right? And they won't live nearly as happy and secure a life.
No, I
So
think
in
it's
it,
part of being a human is we are. I mean, unless you choose the path of a wild forager, but we're stewards of the earth,
right?
and this
And
was
the
the whole
animals,
farming. Yeah, and of the animals, and we have this symbiotic, loving relationship, and you can feel it if you live on a farm. You even truthfully, a lot of my neighbors have farm animals that they organically graze, and then they butcher. But even they have a relationship with these animals. It's sad that they end up butchering them, but I know with our animals on the farm, my daughter, all of us have an incredible relationship with the animals. The animals add something to our life and we add something to their life. And it works that way with all the other elements. You steward the land, you harness the water, you dig out places where the water can be held because otherwise water lands and just gets distributed wherever it wants to go. So you harness the water, you harvest it, and then you distribute the water. People do the same thing with wind. They harvest wind. You harvest, your nut trees or your fruit trees, and then you figure out how to store it and then distribute it. And so the whole thing with, as humans, as farmers, we are stewards. And with stewardship, there is beautiful symbiotic relationships with plants, with earth, with animals, and with the elements.
So to wrap it up.
I think that was a good punch there.
Oh, okay, well, let me just wrap it up quick.
Okay.
But just to wrap it up, these things which may seem strange to us if we don't go into them in depth, like the quote unquote caste system, or this quote unquote, worship of cows, you really have to understand the science behind it and all that's there to understand why these things were raised to such importance in the yogic, Vedic, or if you want to say Hindu culture.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Another Bhagavatam class in the morning. Great way to start your day. It's important to hear the Bhagavatam every morning. It's important to hear a spiritual truth, wisdom on a regular basis. We get connected, we get attached. There's things in this world that if we get attached to, we suffer tremendously. The Bhagavatam, we get attached to this thing too. But as it gets away and taken away from us, we get more attached, we suffer tremendously also. How is it different? Because this attachment is drawing us more towards light, towards love, towards sweet baby Krishna. And so every day we're developing healthy addictions. Thanks for everybody for joining us on Zoom. If you too would like to join us on Zoom, you can email Mara at her secret email address. Ready for it? wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Don't tell anybody. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And if you're one of the others out there, you can join us on Zoom here at 5 a.m. What else you got to do at 5 a.m.? You can even do it listening. Some people are in their homes sitting in meditation. Then we have others who are trucking around America delivering goods and services, like the vegan trucker there. You can drive in your car and listen. And also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you go there and you give us a 5-star review. Tell us something, tell the world something nice about the show. It helps keep us in the conversation in the podcast world. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Remember, we are a community-based podcast. No, not community-based. Community-sponsored. Community, what's the word we use? Community...
Supported.
Supported. Thank you. Community-supported podcast. And if you'd like to support us, you go out to patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. And this is our little family. It's our little spiritual family. Thank you guys for the accountability of getting me up, even though I didn't get any sleep.
Well done, Raghu. Well done.
Huh?
Well done. You probably got 3 hours sleep or something like that, right?
I'm going to take a nap today. I like naps. I'm going to bring back the nap.
Bring it back.
Yeah?
Bring back the nap.
Like, let go of the nap. We need naps. Not long, just a little nap. Little siesta.